introduce them.
This is what happens when you don't have Brandon Day on for a while and you're trying to make sure the show runs on a clean time basis here. On a school night for us, basically. Welcome to an episode, impromptu episode of the Tiger Minor League Report podcast here at TigersMLReport.com. I am Rogelio Castillo alongside Chris Brown and Brandon Day, who returns for his second season of duty, as we were going to talk about the prospects first week in camp, a little bit of major league action. Of course, I can't pretend that doesn't exist. But I want to thank Dwight, who on the GoFundMe sent a $500 donation. Thank you, Dwight. Honestly, that helped pay for a couple things, and hopefully, fingers crossed that I can get down to spring training in a couple weeks for the prospect outing. But our GoFundMe link is out there, so thank you, Dwight. That was really cool of you, and yeah, stay classy. Always, that was really, really nice of you. So. Appreciate all the donations. So don't get me wrong. It's not like that. But also we did interview today. We interviewed Lyle Lockhart Jr., who led the team last year in minor leagues and strikeouts. And just as a FYI, he's supposed to be pitching tomorrow in the split squad.
Yeah, he said he was supposed to pitch the day it rained, and his parents were coming in there to visit, and they didn't get to see him, but they got to go out and have lunch and hang out, so that was good.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, split squad between Boston, I think, and is it Tampa tomorrow? Or Baltimore?
Well, I can check.
Yeah, no, it's Tampa. Yeah, I think it's Manning at home against Tampa and Flaherty on the road against Boston.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so the Tigers only managed 2 hits today and the loss to the Twins 4-0. And right now the kind of story at hand is that right now leading the league in hitting is Ben Malgeri, and it was one of the things that I immediately was like, well, wait a minute, what is he doing? And of course, we are investigate. Like we had a retweet the other day from the swing doctor, the same guy who
teacher man
who works
Richard
with Terry Carpenter, Shink, who is a very serious man and does good work, and don't mess with him. He will go after you on Twitter. Anyway, trust me, he was giving me crap about Torkelson's swing last year. I'm like, dude, I'm not a doctor of swinging, okay? I'm just, I was right. I was
just
right.
describing.
Yeah, just describing, yeah. Okay? Don't kill me, please. Anyway, but
we're not Jonathan Lucroy.
Or he's going to wars with somebody else. He retweeted us when we tweeted out Ben Malgeri. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I looked at the limited ball data rate, and then the ground ball rate has dropped again. Super small sample size. Doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, of course, but it is really cool as an early storyline here. But I think one of the storylines that I thought today was interesting was Chris was the Tanner Kohlhepp screwball theory. Chris, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, we forever and ever, we've known that Tanner Kohlhepp has crazy pitch data. When we talked to Kevin Goldstein a couple years ago, he said that one of the last prospects he actually went and scouted for the Astros, I believe. This was in between jobs, right, when he was with Fangraphs before he went to the Twins. He said that he went and scouted Tanner Kohlhepp, and he was getting like slider level spin rates on his two-seamer. In like that's what shows up. His changeup has a 2,800 RPM spin rate, which it kind of blows as your killing spin, right? Like most of the best ones in splitters have very low spin, but at the same time, Devin Williams has the highest spin rate of any changeup, and it's the airbender, and heard it called basically a screwball before, but for the way it moves. And a couple of the ones that Kohlhepp threw today just were bonkers. I don't know if we pick them out specifically, but I mean, if we see them, I'll show them. But yeah, it's like 19 inches of horizontal movement with that spin rate. Just a really interesting pitch. And he's a guy who's always had, we talked about him when they drafted him. He's like, bit up to 99, 100 before, I think, and obviously it's not strange, but it's an unorthodox delivery, an arm angle. Just a lot of interesting things there. He just needs to throw strikes. That's the main thing that's kind of bedeviled him. And honestly, today it wasn't really even his fault. He did fall behind first batter. This is the only hit he gave up. It was, you know, 17 chopper to third base. And then he walked a guy, but I think if they had had a challenge remaining, that may have been overturned and called a strikeout, because it was awfully close. If it missed, it was by, you know, less than half an inch at the bottom rail.
Let me see if I can get this first. Yeah, this is the first one where the second batter he faced in the inning, and this is where he gets him on a strikeout. He got back-to-back strikeouts to start the inning. I missed the first out because I was doing something else. All of a sudden, it's a Tanner Cole. I'm like, oh crap! And then I went and go.
There you go, right there. Like that pitch just takes a right turn, like that.
Yeah, that is nasty.
it looks like a lefty slider or something like that. And yeah, when the we're slowing it down. Very nice.
Yeah.
Look at this production on the fly.
I know.
Woo! What are you gonna do with that?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And so the first guy he struck out was Jake Rucker, Carson Rucker's older brother, which is fun. Sort of.
Yeah, and a lot of guys who have tons of horizontal movement, like it takes time to learn how to throw strikes. I mean, we liked Cole Hepp when he got drafted in 21, but then it was TJ. I think he had a little bit of shoulder trouble, and then finally was back in 23. And last year, was the first kind of full season he's thrown since he was drafted. So it's not a big surprise that the command is taking a while, especially when you consider just sick horizontal break like that.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I think he was like 96. Yeah. And the changeup is almost 10 miles per hour slower with all that much movement. So I didn't quite put him on our prospect list, but he was definitely on the just missed list. Still keep him in the back of the mind.
Yeah, and they, he threw one cutter today, I think too. I don't know if it's a slider or whatever, but yeah, like we didn't put him on our prospect list either because there's he was in high A, the walk rate was kind of high, and he had these occasions where the inning would just blow up on him because of those walks. But yeah, like it's relievers can move awfully fast if they put it together, right? And there's a lot of fun stuff there. So I don't know, this is the early part of spring. This is what we nerd out about, the these small samples, these chances to see some minor league guys, hopefully usually with TrackMan, Hawkeye data, so we can pour into it and go, oh, well, this is fun. But yeah, he was the one today. We also saw Tyler Owens today, right? We've seen him twice now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
and he's using everything, which is good. He's throwing the splitter and the slider, both a fair amount. Looks pretty good. But again, a guy who hasn't been really above AA, but it just takes that one notch on the command meter, and all of a sudden you're in the big leagues when you have that kind of stuff. So there's definitely guys like him, and obviously Madison later on to keep watching out for.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough with hitters in the spring. It just is. There's just not that much you can take away from a couple at bats, but you can sometimes pick up a new pitch, or this guy's velocity is up, or they've tweaked something in his delivery. Riley Green's going to be Riley Green. You don't really need to dive in too deeply yet.
Yeah, and they've been showing us some stuff. Raj got a great clip today of Scott Harris talking about what they want how you lead to work on, and then the guys were talking about Ty Madden. He's back to not going over his head. He's had more like mechanical adjustments. He's like the Cal Ripken of pitching. Like it's every year he's got something new going on. But he actually, he's not throwing as hard. Maybe that's just an early spring thing. But he wasn't throwing it, as hard as he can last year either. It was like 92 to 95 today. But his secondary stuff seems to continually improve, which is a good sign.
So there was one thing I was going to say the Tyler Owens thing. He basically, Sam Levowitz, the broadcaster for the Seawolves, said that he basically ditched a slider for a cutter, and he could turn around for some more slider depth. Sometimes revamped his arsenal last year at Frisco. So pretty much cutter, four seam, and splitter, according to Sam. So shout out to Sam for busting that knowledge out there on Twitter. So just a heads up.
Yeah,
all right, Brandon, I'm sorry, you're going to say?
Yeah, another guy with kind of about Owens, just another guy with like sort of that dip and drive delivery where he's got like a really quick arm where he drops it down, and then before you know it, it's coming over the top at you. A little bit hard to pick up, it seems like, for some guys, and he's kind of a short king. What is he, like 5'10"? So he's got that really good plane, obviously, to the top of the zone, and gets pretty good IVB going. And he's generally throwing strikes. I mean, he looks interesting. It's kind of a weird situation because the Tigers signed so many relievers this offseason that it feels like we're already sort of full up, and there's 4 or 5 guys who I'd kind of am at least interested in as the 8th guy in the bullpen who probably aren't going to get a shot until someone gets hurt. But Owens is definitely one of those guys in the mix. Raj and I were texting about Wilmer Flores all day. There's another one that's got the stuff, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy and put it together either. So there's some big arms in the system.
Yeah, Flores unfortunately is it was reported through Evan Woodbury that he's not going to be thrown until mid-March, as he's still recovering from arm issues, and so his velocity was at 94, 95 before he hit the injured list. So that's a good thing. You don't want to, like Chris and I talked about that too a little bit. The angle that hopefully doesn't end up like a Franklin Perez situation, but I don't think that is the case, because just the fact that the Tigers seem to have like this whole different ball game when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just always
I had to give the Tigers grief about that. It was like 4 years before they diagnosed anything.
Yeah, you hope that there's better stuff going on there. I just with Perez, it was like, okay, he's a little bit hurt, and then he comes back and he's hurt some more, and he gets hurt again, and then when he's finally back and healthy, the fastball is completely gone. And you hope that there's nothing like that with Flores, and just hope that he can come back healthy. I just shoulder dribble always worries a little bit, but. Yeah, I mean, this is throwing a baseball very hard. It's not great for your arm and shoulder. So there's natural attrition there, and we hope we pull for all these guys to reach their ceiling. But the unfortunate truth is, even the guys who do sometimes then disappear. Poor little out for Kyle Funkhauser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he out of the league now? Is he pitching?
I think so. I know he caught on with another team, but I don't know if he even got back to the majors.
Yeah, I mean, he seemed like a guy who was destined to go over to Korea or Japan for a while, and and reemerge like Dietrich Enns or somebody like that. Come back a couple years later, maybe. But yeah, it's just tough. The shoulder, obviously, just the toughest of injuries, and the fact that this kind of started like late March, early April with Wilmer, and it's still a problem this long out. Like he's probably on that last stretch of like, okay, we're gonna try to rehab this. You got the platelet-rich injections again in January. And if it doesn't work out this time, you'd think they might have to go in there and try to clean up the joint or, something along those lines. There might be scar tissue and all that kind of crap built up in there. So, but hopefully he'll get it back. Cause I mean, I still love me some Wilmer. He was a lot of fun when he was really going good, but once the shoulder starts barking, you just don't know.
Yeah. Brandon White also, who's coming back from shoulder issues, pitched today, kind of, he got rocked a little bit.
He got lit up, but as we were saying earlier, like again with him with Flores, when he comes back, you just want these guys to be healthy for an extended period of time, and then later on they'll get it dialed in, hopefully, and they'll be available when the team needs them, and they probably will. Right? You go through a lot of pitchers during the course of the year, so I treat spring training like probably like professional debuts after the draft. Like if it's good, you get excited, and if it's bad, you just go, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Watch
best
it.
of both worlds. Yeah.
I mean, as far as that goes too, is just to say, I know it's only it's just only a few games in, so I'm sure we'll start seeing more the minor leaguers as it comes on. Roberto Campos was very seen a couple times. Today, the big rush was the Lorenzo walking 3 times, and so one of the things that Mark from the Days of War podcast was talking about, that his bat looked a little slow out there. I don't know, it's too early. I don't know,
I mean, there's a lot to it, right? Like it's very early in camp. This is probably the first time you're really catching live bullets. And Lorenzo we've known this for a while, that he's not like a great pure bat to ball guy, right? There's going to be a lot of swing and miss in the zone. His strengths are that he doesn't really chase that much, and the bat path gets a little loose in the zone too. But when he connects, the ball goes 450 feet, and he walks a ton.
Yeah.
So it's there are trade-offs there. He's not going to be a Triple Crown winner or something like that. And it's early on, and he's a switch hitter, and so you got all this stuff to go on, and he's going to catch tomorrow, I think they said, for the first time. And I'm not too worried about Lorenzo. We'll see what happens, and if he's struggling, hitting 200 with a ton of strikeouts in Double-A in the middle of the year, then we can get concerned. But it's the first week of spring training.
Yeah, and I mean, we know he has the bat speed. I mean, you know that much. We saw it last year. He hit plenty of good fastballs with velocity, even at high A, where you don't necessarily always see that much of it. In the Arizona Fall League, he hit velocity. I don't really think that's a big concern. I think what's really interesting about Lorenzo is the fact that they DH'd him today and gave him 4 plate appearances.
Yeah.
Like that to me is the most interesting part of the deal. They clearly like him. They clearly want to get him up to speed as much as possible. Anybody could have taken those at bats. Obviously, we're seeing How You Lee quite a bit so far too, which is a good sign.
Yeah, and that's another fun one where we can overreact to a little bit. Like, he had that great 12 pitch at bat, but then you look at it and go, okay, well, he missed like 3-4 pitches that were right down the middle. He fouled them off, and that could just be a matter of early spring timing. Of course, he also had a 105 exit velocity and then a 110. He had put like 3 balls in play, and 2 of them were over 105, and it's like, well, all right, and so he's hitting it. And then we got the comment from Scott Harris today that was interesting. That Raj Clip he said that they're working on him or working with. You want to play it?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it right here. I'm gonna play it right now.
Is his stride direction, staying a little bit more closed at the plate, making sure that he can stay on the sliders down and away. He has tremendous power to all fields, and he has tremendous bat to ball skills, and allowing him to drive the ball to right center field will open up his game in the big leagues.
Yeah, basically said he steps in the bucket, right? Which we've noticed before. Like, he tends to open up when he swings, and you see, like, he's just an aggressive swinger. He swings from his ass, and there's going to be some swing and miss there. But he's also he does a pretty good job of staying in the zone. Like, he's going to chase a little bit. But yeah, like I think with him, it's more about just like dialing it in a little bit, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think there needs to be a ton of. I mean, I'm sure they would like to, work with that stride, but I don't think there's a ton of other work that needs to be done.
I don't have the data in front of me, but the one thing I've seen with him a little bit is just a little bit of weakness against good fastballs. Like, tends to kind of battle them off until he gets something a little softer that he can hit. That might be something that, not stepping in the bucket would help him with, just to keep him, online through the zone a little bit more. He does pull off a little bit, but yeah, there isn't that much that we don't like about How You Lee, and he's actually looked pretty good at habitual bucket stepper. Damn right. And he's looked pretty good at third base. He's looked all right there. So is Jace Young, for that matter, has looked a little better there too. Yeah, and Robert, yes, keep roasting me for the guest room. My college dorm room was not this nice, I can tell you.
There is I think that the thing about How You Lee has been able to answer real quickly is, can he make that throw to first? And I know there was a throw he got torqued a little bit off the bag today, but I personally think that he'll be fine at third. I think but I mean, the fact that Jace Young's coming in there with his hair on fire, pretty much like red ass, like, I'm gonna prove you guys wrong. We all know he can hit. It's not an issue of that, and he can play second base just fine. The question now becomes what do you do at third base starting opening day? And still, I mean, it's February 26th, so we still have plenty of time for that. And it's what I have been seeing so far in camp that I really like is that already Hinch is kind of like just throwing everything out there to see what he really has. And so I know you haven't seen Baez yet. Today was the appearance of Gleyber Torres, but I look, position battles are a good thing. And I think the Tigers have a lot of that going on. And it's just a matter of like, what do you do at third do you put Young Lee's going to start. You and I talked about this before, Brandon, and same thing with Chris, that Lee is going to start the year at AAA. I mean, I thought about for a second, maybe he might start in Erie just for a minute because he's coming back from injury. I'm doing my roster 1.0 right now with Erie, and it was like, I'm looking at third, I'm going, shoot, what do you put Corey Joyce back there again? Like, because they have it's an interesting dilemma right now they have, because if Young starts a season at AAA, you assume that he's going to either go to second or you assume maybe he goes to second based off the positional need. But then it's like, all right, well, then you have Corey Joyce, you have Navigado. It's like, shoot, like there's going to be a cut or two. There has to be. I would think there would be. Yeah, there is going to be like that. So. By the way,
and of course they're going to prioritize the prospects anyway. If they want Jace Young to play third base, on the major league squad, and he starts in Toledo, he's going to play third base, and they're going to be like, well, we don't care about the rest of you that much. That's just kind of the way it goes. And
I think he's going to be just fine.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin was already the first.
So let me
Harris drop.
Let me say this. We all like to hear your boisterous laugh, but I do wonder if that clip would be better without it at the end. So it's just Harris, just because it gets confusing. Then you're talking again, and he was just laughing. But
let's try that again. Hold on.
All right.
I think he's going to be just fine.
Perfect.
Oh, there we go. So
if you can have a separate one of you laughing, that would be great. but no, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like there's a scenario where Young and Lee are in Toledo, but it does feel like Young, he's certainly making a good early impression, and that's good to see. And Lee is too.
I like him kind of pushing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, we talked about it before with Josh Young back in the day, his older brother, there was concern about him not being able to play third, and he just kind of continued to get better. So maybe there's just like the grinder is in the Young family, which would be good. And unfortunately he's left-handed. Ordinarily that's an awesome thing. It's with the current lineup, maybe not ideal, but at the end of the day, like, all right, whatever.
We're too left-handed. I never thought I'd see this day with the Tigers, honestly.
Yeah.
But, I like that Jace Young is coming out there like, I'm fast. Like, I'm faster now, guys. I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to kind of shove it down your throats. I've been working on my quickness. I'm scrambling around on the ground like an angry dog, getting back to my feet, practicing that all off season or whatever. So we'll see. Cause I mean, most of it, it's not that he like doesn't have the arm strength. It's that he just didn't show the quickness very often. Like when he has to like range to either side and then reset himself to throw, it takes him too long and he doesn't always make a strong throw. So, if he has improved his footwork and gotten a little bit quicker and, kind of worked on his mobility this whole off season, it might be enough. And I think we all think he's, probably an average major league hitter, maybe a little more if the power starts showing up a little more. So yeah, I mean, and that might be enough. I'm as big at Alex. Nobody wanted Alex Bregman more than I did, I don't think. But they're not going to be lost without Alex Bregman. It's just, it's just those extra 2 wins when you have average players all over the place. Like finding where to upgrade now is tough. We've been sitting there like digging for trades for like a third baseman or a right-handed hitting outfielder all off season, and actually finding someone who is really like a legit upgrade is just not that easy without giving up a ton. So we're gonna roll with it and see what happens.
Yeah, and I can't even find
trade for Bo Bichette.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't that many candidates even that like you think other teams would want to get rid of.
Yeah, how would you react if they asked you to DH?
Oh.
How would you feel about that?
No.
No.
You translate that?
Rafael Devers. No.
No. Third base is mine.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, Stan asked, "Where's Briseño?" I think you'll notice that no one we've seen so far in spring training, has been like is like below AA. All these guys are either heading to AA or have been to AA and higher. The Briseño, Clark, McGonigal, Rayner, anybody else, they're in minor league camp. We'll probably see all of them once, a handful of times later in spring, but they're working on stuff and playing games and things like that right now. And so they want to get these AA guys, and that's why we're getting Ben Malgeri, we're getting
Navigado,
Jamai Jones and Andrew
Navigado.
All the other
Lorenzo's
guys.
A catcher, so that's why he's there, because you need a ton of catchers. That's all.
Yeah, and he's probably headed AA. Same with Campos, right? Like it makes me think. Campos' first couple of bats look kind of rough, but he's maybe it's time to challenge him in AA. So that's the thing. And like I said, we'll. It's just one of those things where these guys could theoretically, anybody who's like at the AA level could theoretically, go nuts and help out or look good enough to get moved to AAA to start the season, something like that. But it's not going to happen with guys who are in Lakeland.
Yeah, especially because one of the things we did pick up on a little bit was that as far as like the new facilities go, that was something that the Lyle Lockhart interview should be up. It'll be on Patreon for a couple days. Patreon early for people who are paid subscribers on their Patreon. They're gonna get that Lyle Lockhart interview early. And one of the things he said that struck a chord with me was the fact that he was talking about the facilities upgrade, and now that they're not losing time on working out. Whereas before, when it rained, it was a first rain out that he was mentioning earlier. It was like the first time in 10 years. But the fact that they're like the most basic things that we can think of, like the covers down there in Lakeland, because if you've ever been down there, and I know Stan's down there right now, but if you go in the backfields, as soon as you walk out of the facility, it's like blaring sun. I was there last year, and I just remember by the time I got back to my car, it was just like, like not fat dude sweat, but it was getting close to fat dude sweat. And fat dude sweat sucks when you're like, because you're always like, all right, do I smell? You know, and
okay.
you know, like you're conscious of that. But it's also same time I wore a hat. I wore my London Tigers hat because I didn't want to get sunburned.
Yeah.
That there's a lot of direct sun. Now they've cut that back a little bit, and that goes a long way because you're not, as Lyle mentioned, you don't feel as zapped. You know, you don't feel as tired.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the covered, mounds and catching pits or whatever, let them get their bullpens in, whereas they couldn't before. Or at least they could, like before.
You got rained out. You were rained out.
Yeah, before there were like 3 or 4 people who could pitch inside. Now there's 10 guys outside too. So, yeah, just a lot of the upgrades they've made. That's stuff we don't necessarily see, but the players seem to appreciate it.
So it's kind of funny. Like every year there are upgrades in Lakeland. I just wanted to bring this up because it just seems like, for like 8 years there's been like upgrades, and someone asked not long, like, how can they upgrade the facilities every year? And it's like, well, there's always little things you can do, but you have to just realize how bad it was. Like, Raj and I texted about this yesterday too. Like, from like 1988 to 2006, like, or 2016, I'm not sure anything changed. It's pretty much the same thing. Maybe the same coaches for all I know.
Oh yeah, no, we were talking about that earlier. We had a listener who was chiming in, who let us know in the YouTube comments that he used to work for the Ypsilanti paper. And he was telling us that, like, Tom Monahan did not spend a lot of money at all. In fact, the last time Lakeland the facilities were upgraded was in 1970. But keep in mind something else, too, that we heard about. They had one pitching coach, and we were talking about this with Lyle Walker, and it was kind of, his mind was blown a little bit. They had one pitching coach in the entire organization. One pitching coach in the minor leagues, and that was at AAA Toledo until like 1991, 1992. Think about that for a second. Think about that, like. And this is a time where there was like 7 or the Tigers actually had the minimum. They didn't carry the minimum of teams until Major League Baseball forced them to in like 91, 92. Like they had one less team than everybody else because it would have been out there. And so that's why whenever you hear about John Smoltz, John Smoltz talked about like how he got better with Atlanta because of instruction that wasn't there with the Tigers. Now you understand why he was getting at here. And Tyler Madsen here in the chat says, they're the broadcast today. They said that when Tram was first spring training, they didn't have batting cages. No, you didn't know that, Tyler. That's a good, great thing to bring up there. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's an absolutely weird thing to say right now in these times. Like, wait a minute, what? They didn't have batting cages back then? But yeah, it's the Tigers just were frugal, and it's not nobody's fault or anything, but that's just the way it was. Like, it was just, if you look at the drafts in the 70s too, they had really good drafts, but they also draft a lot of local guys. I mean, guys from like Wyandotte Roosevelt here. I remember like they had like just the philosophy of that all has changed. I did want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Spencer Torkelson because that was brought up in camp. I'll start with you, Brandon. Have you seen just, is it just same old Spencer Torkelson, or am I just, it's too early to say?
Yeah, anything? It is, but the urge to like, pick apart every detail, like, okay, there's a little bit more of a toe tap, here, and then, this swing is flat footed again. Is he trying something? I mean, we kind of did that, last year at Toledo too. And, he's just feeling for something, but no, I see absolutely nothing to suggest any, significant overhaul has gone on. And you hear him and you hear AJ Hinch to some degree kind of saying the same thing, that they seem to believe that he's too much in his head and become, too mechanical or too analytical about his swing. I don't know, that seems baffling from the outside when you don't really see anything, anything changing, and they just kind of keep repeating this, he's got to get back to being himself, and he's got to just, feel for his timing again. Who am I to argue with AJ Hinch in particular, but it's just, you see the same thing, you expect the same thing. And, if something changes, we'll know. But I think you guys probably too, you kind of, I wouldn't say long ago, but it's been a while since I had like huge interest in Spencer Torkelson. Then maybe that sounds crazy to people. I don't know, but it's just been a couple of years since it really seemed like it was going to be more than like, okay, maybe he turns into an average, somewhat above average hitter, poor first baseman, 2 to 3 WAR player. Like, it's just not, the amount of ink that has been spent on Spencer Torkelson versus what his actual like ceiling even is just way too much. It would just be great if everybody just relaxed and sort of let him play for a while and see if he can start timing something in. Maybe he becomes sort of a lefty master, and you see if he can play a little bit of left field or something, and DH and play a little first base, something like that. Maybe is possible, but I'll just put it this way: if anything big changes with Spencer Torkelson, you'll know, because no one will ever shut up about it. Like, that's all you'll see written about, And it'll be definitive. If something really big changes and he starts wrecking shop, we know he has the power. It'll be obvious. So, if you see like a JD Martinez, circa 2014, Toledo Mud Hens run in April, all right, you can probably get a little excited again. But but otherwise, I'm just not paying him that much attention anymore.
That's what I'm trying to treat him kind of like Justin Herman Malloy. Like, who, you treat him, Malloy's more of a prospect at this point, even though I don't think he's technically a prospect anymore. But, it feels like there's a little bit more ceiling there but I just am like, I don't have a ton of expectations. Go out there and perform. And if you do something good, that's great. I'm not, you were 1-1, but it doesn't matter anymore, right? Like you've had 1,200 at bats in the big leagues or whatever it is. And at the same time, we're talking like 3 games, right? Like Colt Keith hasn't done much of anything yet either, right? It's like 2 hits and 6 at bats. Something like Torque's like 2 for 7. It's
and Torque's 25. It's not like he's 27 or 8, but yeah.
So it's just it does feel like there's like a hyper focus on it. Like, okay, he popped out again. All right, well, whatever. Like, it's baseball. We'll see what happens again. Like 2-3 weeks down the road, who knows? But I haven't seen anything to get excited about. But I'm not gonna, be super negative about it yet either.
Yeah,
I can't. I was gonna say the Justin Herman Malloy playing first base. I don't know if there's any video of that yet. I think he played first base yesterday. I want to say against Baltimore. Which, by the way, Baltimore, get your ass together. Get your act together. Seriously, what is this? Like, there was one camera because MLB.com showed the Bell Malgeri home run and then later the Riley Green home run, and it was just funny because it's like, come on, Baltimore, really? But the biggest. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is our first chance to get a look at Jackson Job's new curve in Hawkeye, and nope. Sorry, no video, no data, got nothing. Although Evan Petzold
AJ did that on purpose.
Yeah, Petzold was there, and his video, you could see the scoreboard in the background and say, okay, 98, 99. That's 83. Oh, that's 88. That's probably changed up the. So but that's all we got.
Yeah, Mike Ellis, like, you came from Houston. What the hell, man? Like, you would think that would be the first thing he would want is like, I want data everywhere. That's what I want. And I don't get it, but it is what it is.
And of course they've got it. They're getting the data, that's no problem. It's right there. They could just give it to us, but they just don't want to. I have a lot of questions for Mark Elias about why they do the things that they do. They're still kind of behaving like they're a team on the cusp of putting together a core. And it's like, dude, you have to Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman already. What the hell are you waiting for? But
they're acting like the Marlins, Brandon. They have like no payroll to spend or anything. Like they're
the Pirates. Like there's like a couple really good guys, and they're not going to do anything with it. That's freaking odd. I don't know.
But they are one. I mean, I'm trying to think. Do they don't share that stadium, right? Because I think they're one of the few teams that their low A affiliate is not in the Florida State League,
right?
So they don't. That's just their spring training stadium. So it may just be that, like, all the teams in the Florida State League have to have that data now. I think maybe Palm Beach doesn't yet. I don't know.
No, I don't think Palm Beach does. I know. I think the Marlins and the Cardinals share a facility, I believe, in Jupiter.
I think so. Is that Roger Dean Stadium?
Yeah, Roger Dean Stadium.
Jimmy Dean Stadium.
Sounds delicious.
It does.
But yeah, I don't. Yeah, in terms of spring training, Ed Smith Stadium is. Yeah, it's been there since 20. They used to host the Dodgers at one point, the Red Sox, but that's it. I mean, as far as like that goes, they don't have any. Oh, they used to have a single A team over there for the White Sox, but it's been that's it. They spent $31 million in renovations back in 2012, but.
For 15 games in the spring, is that there must be other stuff going on there that I haven't looked into, but
I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to take a look at the stadiums that are playing there. So
Even, I mean, like, we had Jackson Jobe start the other day, which we can talk about a little bit, but we didn't really get to see much of it. He sure was throwing hard. He struck out Adley Rutschman, gave up a homer to Heston Kjerstad after a walk where he got up 0-2, and then kind of I think it's Tyler O'Neill ended up walking him, and he was upset about that, and that was
9
kind
pitches.
of the issue that he had last year at times. And I think a lot of that I think is just growth as a pitcher. Like, I think he wants to get the strikeouts, and so he is trying to get a swing and miss outside of the zone or whatever. And he's just, at some point, he's kind of got to just work in the zone, let the stuff be good, and the strikeouts will come. But and
when he does that,
not good, like, the stuff be amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And when he does that, hitters won't be able to just sit there and look for fastballs, because I think that's kind of where he's gotten to. They know that all the secondary pitches are nasty, and you're trying not to chase that stuff at all. So once he's up 0-2, you're just kind of in battle mode. But if he's gonna let you back in the count, fine. And then once he walked him, he was pissed. Fires, goes down 1-0 to Kjerstad, and then you pretty much have to gun one in there, and it was pretty much down the pipe. And Heston Kjerstad can hit a fastball. That's not the problem with him. So.
But and then we also got
Joe will be all
Montero
right.
and
This is
Herder
what
in
he's
the
been
game.
talking about. Yeah, we did.
So we missed
Montero
all of those guys.
Pretty solid, and we didn't see
I
any
think
of
he
that.
threw like
yet.
8 pitches. We're going to see. I think he pitch again on Saturday. So, I don't know. There's so many, like, even the guys who are not prospects anymore. They're still young, and like there's a lot of development to be done. Like, I'm still excited about Montero and all these guys. Dingler hit a massive bomb the other day. He's also bounced into a couple of double plays, I think, but caught Skubal for the first time ever, right?
Yeah,
or at least the first time in the big leagues. And so that's
made a
good
beautiful throw to cut down Brooks Lee. Brooks Lee today too, just an absolute missile to second base, right on the money.
As Bernie Smilovitz once said, recently we got highlights for you on that. Because it was at the same time, the next play, it was funny because I was about to stop it. Then all of a sudden, because I work from home, so it's my day job. So I was multitasking, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to stop this real quick. Then the next play, Haili makes a play at third.
There goes the runner. Dingler's got a chance here. That's a laser.
He's out by 5-6 feet. Like, that was
classic Dingler. And then here's the next play come up here, where we see Haili do a put out here. Simple. I just wanted to put it in there so people can see the defense. He pulled them off the bag a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think it looked like he overthought that. Like, he took an extra
beat to that.
But I don't know.
Does anyone out there remember when? Does anybody remember Rocky 2? Very end, Apollo Creed, Rocky Balboa gonna have their little match, and he tells him to ring the bell, and Apollo goes ding, ding. I need that cut for every time Dingler homers. Yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
That's a good idea.
I'm trying to think. We've seen a lot of guys. We also I was happy to see Garrett Burhan get an inning the other day, because we've talked about him a fair amount, and he doesn't get a lot of talk elsewhere. And he looked good in an inning. I've always thought that he probably ends up as a reliever, and it was 95, 96 consistently, showing a pretty solid cutter, slider there, and he didn't even break out. He's got a changeup. He's got a curve that he doesn't need to use and shouldn't. But I don't know. He's another guy that I think could be a solid bullpen arm down the road.
Pretty good slider.
Yeah, really good slider. He's
or cutter, whatever it is. Yeah.
We put him as one of the better sliders in the system. We put it on our list of tools list, because we thought it stood out a little bit. And one thing that did immediately we noticed right away was that. And by the way, the Tigers worked out a lot of their pitchers. Had 5 or 6 pitchers work out in Oklahoma, and he was also one of them, along with Lyle Lockhart Jr., Owen Hall, and a few others. But immediately, if you notice his hands, something he was doing, like, if you notice set to the hands. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, we something seemed different. You said something seemed different, and we looked and okay. Like, he started with his hands by his waist last year, and now they're up by his shoulders. And the speculation, whenever something like that happens, it's either for deception or maybe to aid the command a little bit to keep the arm on time. I don't know, but it's a small change, and we'll see.
Yeah, so he's up here now, and Madden's back down here now.
Yeah.
It's funny. It is funny to watch people just kind of like, trying to feel for that perfect thing to keep your, your upper body in the right posture and stuff.
Oh, and that reminds me, we've seen Seth Stevenson a handful of times now. Now maybe that's just because, Akil Badu is hurt, and maybe they're down a couple outfielders, but maybe that's a sign that he's going to go to Double-A as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah,
Burhan,
it's fun to have him out there. I'm sure the pitchers appreciate having Seth Stevenson around,
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of Eddie's Leonard, which probably means that, he's been in all over the place. So infield in the outfield, but it looks like Burhan for whatever reason, looks like Noah Syndergaard to me from
all the hair.
Yeah, all the hair back there.
Yeah.
I don't remember his hair being that long, so it looks like he just hasn't cut it in a while.
Yeah, and the starter depth right now in Toledo makes me think that he might even start the season at Erie for a little bit, but not. I don't know. Like you might. I don't know if you guys think he might start the year at Erie, but
it's tough. It's tough to
maybe
figure
right now, but yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to reverse engineer it and look at all right, who's the 5 starters in Detroit, and then is one of the starters going to be the last member of the bullpen? Are they going to keep Herter? I feel like that the signing of Andrew Chafin, now it's signed to a minor league deal, but he's going to make the team, right? Unless something disastrous happens, he's a big league pitcher. I feel like that might send Herter back to AAA because I don't know how many.
Yeah,
I was down to
So you might have Herter, you might have Montero, Madden, Manning. All you could have all 4 of those guys pitching for the Mud Hens. I mean, obviously we have to get through the next 5 weeks without a bunch of arms exploding, which probably won't happen. But yeah, I mean, you look at the bullpen right now, and it looks like you've got Chafin, Brebbia, Canley, Holton, Vest, Foley, Brisky, and then probably Kenta Maeda. I know some people think he might have a shot at the rotation again. I kind of don't, but I guess. But yeah, they're kind of full up right now, and it's looking like Gabe Alvarez might have a pretty kick-ass staff to start with in his first year at Toledo.
I mean, you mentioned 4 legit big league starters, and then there's Lockhart, who was down there last year, and it's I don't know, they're 2 deep at starting pitching right now, and like you said, the pitchers, these things work themselves out, unfortunately. But it doesn't feel like they're going to get caught off guard or have to do what they did last year, and then that's not even to mention Sawyer Gibson Long's coming back later this year, and so a lot of arms in the upper levels, and Troy Melton's is he going to go back to Erie? I guess he's going to have to, right? So
probably for a little bit, oh god, it was Rocky 3, excuse me, Jesus, the Clubber Lang Rocky
prediction,
that's my bad. Pain. And if Chafin is pissed right now, I don't know that he's pissed. It's hard to tell with Andrew Chafin because he's he's a sarcastic man. But I could see him being pissed. I mean, year after year, he puts up pretty good numbers, and he's a lefty. He strikes out quite a lot of dudes, and no one wants him. I could look around the league and probably find 20 teams that probably should have signed him, and they just didn't for whatever reason. So here he is again, and he'll probably pitch well for us. And get traded somewhere else, and and then he'll go to pot out there, and we'll get him back again. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
at some point the cycle will end, but
one of the things we were chatting about in the Discord a little bit was that there've been a lot of talk about the Tigers need more swing and miss stuff in the bullpen, and they didn't go out and get a pure strikeout monster or anything like that, but Bo Brisky finished the year last year as their leading strikeout man with exactly 9 per 9 innings, right? Just which is not a lot for relievers anymore. But now Chafin, Brebbia, and Canley are all above that. So they've added 3 guys who theoretically can get more swings and misses, which I think should help. Probably can't hurt.
I wasn't thrilled with Brebbia being signed, but I mean, he's just like Shelby Miller. I mean, he is kind of the Shelby Miller this year, where it's you can't put that guy up against powerful left-handed hitters very often because they just seem to bomb on him. And just seem to pick everything up, but we'll see how it goes. I don't think that second year is going to vest. I'm just going to say that.
Well, I mean, that was another interesting. I don't know if that was that during today's broadcast. It was. Scott Harris was there, and he was saying, he gave up the home run, and Scott Harris was like, "Is that a changeup?"
Yeah,
and they were like, "No, it's a slider." He's like, "Okay," because we're having him work on the changeup.
Yeah,
which because he only threw a couple last year. but the slider got bombed,
Yeah.
destroyed last year. So, that doesn't seem to have taken a step forward. He does seem to have a great personality, which is fun.
He does. Yeah. But Scott Harris is such a weird combination of like openness and tight-lippedness. Like when he's on the air, he's all like chatting about his guy. We're teaching him this, and we're working on that in a way that like no Tigers GM would ever have discussed anything like that, or probably even known, in that detail what was going on. And then, but at the same time, he's, very tight-lipped about other things, and you'll never hear about a signing until it's about to happen. And, I don't know. He's sort of oddly disarming person.
I think that part of that is, they made the playoffs in his second year, right? Like like even if he was, if he had like his own like self-doubts at all, he's probably a lot more confident now, and probably, even more believes what they're doing, but also he just really seems to love player development. Like, the fact that he even talked to us, it was like, like this is what he likes, this is what he wants to talk about, so that's fine with me. Like,
and the fact that he knew the one thing about this, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this, Brandon, openly on air, was Scott Harris knew, like, he watched as much baseball as we do, and if anything, like, he was just he almost like off the air, we're talking about a game, he's like, oh yeah, I remember that game, and it's just like I was just astonished. But I mean, like, the fact that he, like, I don't know
when
what
we're
Twitter
all sitting around at night texting about we're texting.
That's
about,
what he was.
Like what we just saw at Erie or Toledo. He should be in that chat. He'd be happier with us.
Oh yeah, I think he would be stoked to hear that. Honestly, it was. I sometimes I feel like he's Deadly Ninja Beads or something. Like I feel like he's in disguise somewhere on our Discord. Like he's a guy he's out there. He's that one commenter on Bless You Boys that you can't figure out exactly who he is, maybe, or on our site, the same thing. It's
username Dryer Sheet.
It's like, or Sammy Sosa fan, as we come and found he's a Sammy Sosa fan. But yeah, it was one of those things where you're absolutely right. Talking to him as openly as we were, like, even when when Channel 7 had me talk, like they got me with my curls all talking to him after, like, we're talking about how you leave for like 10 minutes after the presser, and we're like going, he's like, how the hell is he not a top 100 prospect? I'm like, so it was
put in a good word so I can get a job at MLB Pipeline.
I'll tell Baseball America, but like Chris and I know more than anyway. Whatever.
Well, I've got a message for you, Scott Harris, from a couple of my readers, which is that you did all this with Al Avila's roster. So what's up? What are you gonna do?
Yes, I would. Also, a quick little shout out to all the other minor leaguers who have shown up briefly and done their thing. Austin Murr, Carlos Mendoza, Eliezer Alfonso, Jake Holton, they all show up like for an at-bat or two and are doing good things. It's just,
people laugh when I get bizarrely excited about Carlos Mendoza getting out there to run. I'm telling everybody in our channel, like, oh, you got to watch Carlos Mendoza. He's super gritty. He's going to drive this pitcher nuts and steal a base. But
it's fun.
Everybody's like, are we ever going to see him in the big leagues? Probably not, but maybe.
I do like what Richard said, though. I mean, Richard does bring up a point, though. I mean, Tigers made the playoffs not because Scott Harris made the playoffs in spite of Scott Harris. I mean, ooh, I like the spiciness. I like that.
I'll say with Scott Harris's assistance. Like, I think Scott Harris did some good things, to add into it. But it is true that this isn't really that much his roster. That's fair enough.
Yeah. Although I mean, it seems to be kind of widely accepted that kind of the pitching chaos was sort of his idea, if you will. I don't know, or something he presented. I don't know how true that is or not. And I don't even if it was his idea, I don't think he could have possibly imagined it working as well as it did. But they got Trey Sweeney.
He
did something to help the roster last year. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he didn't draft Riley Green. Yeah, he didn't draft Riley Green or Kerry Carpenter. This is true.
I do think that if you talk to AJ Hinch and Chris Fetter, they'd tell you that like the analyst group that they've continued to build there and the way that like they communicate with the coaching staff, it just feels like that has to have gotten a lot better. And whether Scott Harris and AJ Hinch hashed out the pitching chaos theory, or if it just kind of came up because they didn't have a whole lot of other options anyway. I don't know what else they were going to do. I think Scott Harris certainly has had an impact on the organization, but it is also fair to suggest that, it's less his victory than it would have been, if Avila was still around, I guess. But but if Avila was still around, we'd have all kinds of other problems. So
yeah, and I mean, he didn't draft Tarek Skubal either, right? So that helps. But well, I don't know. Things seem to be heading in the right direction. We'll see what happens this year. But early on in spring training, it's fun to have baseball back. That's all I'll say. And it's fun. I enjoy this early part of spring training because we get to see these young guys. My least part of spring training, or at least favorite part, is the very end when it's basically like a real game, but it doesn't matter. Like they're playing, all the starters are playing 7-8 innings. I'm like, but this is a stupid exhibition. Who cares?
Yeah.
But they got to get them ready.
You're just like, don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Don't get hurt. Yeah. It sounds like Javi was supposed to. Did anybody hear about Javi today? He was supposed to run the bases, sort of, and that was his last test. And then he's supposed to play this weekend if everything went well. But I didn't see anything about it yet. So
I didn't see anything about that yet either. But I mean, real quick before we end the podcast, really, it's Ryan Garco that should get. I mean, he's starting to get more of the credit too. But one guy that keeps coming up, and I would love to talk to him one time, is Gabe Rivas. I mean, Gabe Rivas. Lyle Lockhart mentioned him earlier on the interview, and he was the first, and he was also with him when he was with the Dodgers. I think one of the things that stands out to me right now is the fact that Rivas and among the pitching staff down there outside of Feder have really, really done a good job of identifying a pitch that they should throw and start getting that done down immediately. And I think that's something that was not done before. And I'm not going to totally surprise or blow the surprise what Lockhart said about the difference between the Dodgers and Tigers, but it is one of those things. It was very interesting. His answer to the question we had a Discord question that he answered really well. And the one thing, and I think this is why Harris, it's a whole, it takes a village thing, philosophy with this. And that to me stands out more than anything else. I mean, the fact that he's also done it too with very little eternal, he didn't fire Garco. He brought in some of his own people. In addition, some of the people, David Littlefield still works for the organization. To what capacity, I don't know, but I saw him last year at Lakeland. I was like, oh my God, David Littlefield, even with his leather jacket in 90-degree weather, still David Littlefield. But, I don't know if he does anymore. But anyway, the point is that he inherited a lot and still work with it. So that's why I think Harris, to Richard's point, yes. But at the same time, I think that there's something to be said about that he is able to, not blow it all up because he knows full well those guys.
Yeah, if you're a young president of baseball operations and you take over, I can see like where you might have a real urge to like purge everybody out. Like you want all your guys, you don't trust these guys that, maybe there's some issue with you being young and they don't, some of these older baseball guys don't respect you, or they're not, you have to, win them over. Sam Benzen's still there. Jay Sartori is still there. He kept Ryan Garco because he recognized he was doing a good job. Kept Rivas for the same reason. Kept Kenny Graham for the same reason. Kept AJ Hinch because AJ Hinch is actually in charge of everything. And he can't fire AJ Hinch, but I'm joking. But yeah, George Lombard, all those people. And we actually had, Stefano Stroop was with the Tigers the last couple years as a minor league pitching coordinator, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And the Mariners came and got him and made him their pitching coordinator this year. So, that's another thing we never used to see is, Tigers players development people starting to get poached and go elsewhere. We've seen that a few times now. So that's another sign of an organization that, has institutional knowledge that other teams want now and are coming for. So,
yeah. And Tampa wants their pitch. Yeah, Tampa continues to want Tiger pitchers. Drew Smiley, Fernando Rodney. Now it's Mason Englert and Alex Faedo.
Tyler Alexander, they had.
Alexander.
Edwin Uceda.
Who's the guy? And most of them they can't make any better. We're not afraid of them anymore. We're like, what are you going to do that the Tigers didn't try? So.
Who's the guy with the changeup, with the wicked changeup?
Edwin Uceda, yeah.
Uceda. That guy's,
The one completely random note. I don't know if anybody has talked about this much, but the end of the spring training schedule for the Tigers, they go to San Francisco. They're playing 2 exhibition games at Oracle Park before the season opener of the Dodgers. But the day before that, they have a spring training game. So on March 23rd, they have a spring training game against the Phillies in Florida. And then on March 24th, they're in San Francisco. So I think that 23rd game is going to be nothing but minor leaguers and prospects. There's not going to be a single big leaguer in that game, so that might be actually kind of fun for us because everybody who's making the team is going to be on their way to San Francisco.
That's kind of cool that they're setting them up that way so they can be in San Francisco for a couple days and then they just go right down to LA to start the season against the Dodgers. And if you were wondering, yes, Tarek Skubal is the opening day starter, as Hinchy announced today. So,
but it's I mean, playing those are evening games in San Francisco in late March that might be a little bit nippy.
Yeah,
Matthew
Mansfield's in good shape right there. You got to get to that.
I was gonna say, you got to get us some video out there. I'm sure, like he'll be our minor league reporter of the day there. By the way, the Pistons won 117-97. Yeah, nicely done.
The Pistons, it's always right in the world. If the Pistons are good defensively, that's how you know that the Pistons are supposed to win with defense. That's the only way they've ever done it. Yeah,
it's traditional. Chuck Daly approved.
Yeah, Chuck Daly approved the go in the work thing. I pulled up a weird stat the other day that I'm still kind of miffed about. Chuck Daly was fired by Cleveland the year before he got hired by the Pistons in '84. Him and JB Bickerstaff had the same identical records right now. Still, that's just crazy. The same period of time, and they were both fired by Cleveland. Crazy.
And I do like Matthew's point that yes, these are weird times when Lions coaches and coordinators are getting poached, and people are coming for Tigers coaches. It is weird, but it feels great. It feels really good. It feels like last year was fun, but it still kind of feels like this is just the beginning. Like this is the beginning now. It might have felt less like the beginning if they'd signed Alex Bregman, and I'd be a little bit more like, all right, it's go time. We got to win. Yeah. But we want to win. We'd love to win. But it's gonna, it's gonna be a 4-team slugfest. With probably all 4 teams in the Central having basically a 25% chance of winning. Sorry, White Sox, you suck.
Minnesota's a lot better. Their pitching staff's a lot better than people give them credit for. I think Minnesota's going to be.
It is, but I don't know. I just don't know about their depth in pitching. Like the starting group does look really good, and of course, if Royce Lewis and Buxton and Correa happen to be healthy, that offense can be a real juggernaut for parts of the season when those guys are healthy. But they never are because evil spirits plague the undersurface at Target Field for some reason.
It was built on a
the Target people angry. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's starting to feel it's get that old April and the D feel. The Red Wings are winning, the Pistons are winning, the Tigers look like contenders, and somehow the Lions are involved too. Yeah, so it's a good time finally to be a Detroit sports fan after 15 years wandering in the wilderness. But maybe more like 10. But
for the Tigers at least, but for the rest, maybe longer.
Don't jump on the bandwagon if you haven't already. But I wanted to thank. By the way, just Brandon. All right, Brandon. Actually, what do you got going on before I have a show announcement too for people out there. But go ahead. What do you want to plug on? Bless you, boys.
Oh, I'm just still. I mean, I'm going to plug it, but it's kind of funny because I did the prospect list differently this year and actually started at the beginning, and so Job was the first prospect report. And the reason I've never done it that way is because by the end of it, everyone is bored, and that's where we are now. So I'm grinding through the 40 future value guys, so you can pick that up. But we'd love to have people stop over in the game threads and chat it up. We've got a lot of the same people who've been there forever. And they could use a little shaking up. So feel free to join us over there for that. And otherwise we'll just keep churning along here and covering games and picking up the news and hunting for weird changes in spin rate data and such. The usual stuff.
Yeah, we have to start knocking out our prospects too as well. There's going to be a Erie Seawolves roster production up probably tomorrow afternoon. If I got to finish it up a little bit, I got behind today. And then we're going to start knocking out the prospect reports. And then also Joe Rampy's back with us. And so you have 5 things to learn about this week. That'll be Friday, every weekly Friday edition. And we have some people. What I've been doing is like these quickie minor league recaps right now during spring training on our Patreon. So those are for free. But the Lyle Lockhart interview, like I said, we're going to post that tonight for people on there. Parker Meadows, by the way, is going to be okay. It's just a little bit of a bicep issue. But speaking of Erie, by the way, the one thing I wanted to announce is that we're going to have Tiger Minor League Report night at the ballpark. Right now I'm working on, getting some dates together. And so essentially right now, how it's going to be, if shout out to the ticket department and the merch department that over there in Erie, Christie, and I believe tell the gentleman's name. See here. What's the gentleman's name? Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Andrew. So it's going to be a $10 ticket for followers with a merch code to use in Team Store the night of the game. So right now, between Jerry, myself, and Chris, we got to pick out some dates, and there'll be a discount code. So you buy Erie Seawolf tickets through us, or use the discount code, and you get some deals at the merch store. Because right now at merch, they're bringing back the old '90s logo, the Seawolves. So you can pre-order the Seawolves '90s hat, that ugly wolf. This figured looking wolf. I'm not gonna try to be discouraging. But yeah, we'll be announcing that, all that. So looking forward to it. Thanks again to the Erie Seawolves for offering this kind of idea. It was an idea that I will say I took from the Wing Wheel podcast, because the Wing Wheel podcast, good guys over there, they were doing some of the Grand Rapids Griffins where they had a beanie cap, and when you purchase a ticket, you got a beanie cap.
Yeah, with their logo on it. It was super cool.
It was super cool looking, and I was like,
Yeah, this is pretty rad. Cool.
Yeah. So hopefully and somebody asked in our Discord if we're going to have something for West Michigan and Toledo. Who knows?
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah. Lakeland.
Your ball, West Michigan and Toledo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Call the boys up. Let's go.
Yeah.
Ask Gabe Alvarez to do it for us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Gabe will magic. But
our main contact in Toledo.
Congratulations to Dan Hasty, too, for the Michigan Broadcaster Award.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good for him. Good for Dan. Definitely deserves it. Plus his ass. So stay close, everybody. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you for joining us this evening. And I had all this extra bonus content for Locker will be on our Patreon. And for now, until I put it on YouTube later on. But thanks so much. We'll talk to you guys later. Stay close, everybody. Have a good night.